muy malo. Roto el pato de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa. Siempre negativa. Nunca positiva.
Hello and welcome to Siempre Positivo with me, Rick Sharma and Tony Wemati. We're down to the bare bones today. We're using a new podcast platform as we don't have our usual equipment. I'm in London still and Tony is also away. Sam can't be here today. He's on an Easter egg hunt, so we will struggle through without him. We're going to talk about Barca's 2-1 win over Atletico Madrid in La Liga. That left Hansi Flick's side 7 points clear of Real Madrid, who slipped up against Mallorca and the Pirate. Tony, how's it going? Where are you?
Good afternoon, Rick. Well, I think I have mentioned this sometimes. Small village where my parents are from in the mountains, around 3 hours by car from Barcelona, close to Pyrenees. So there, I'm not going to say there's no network because there is, and also there is Wi-Fi in some places. But I mean, you are totally offline when you are there, so I didn't bring the laptop. I'm following football issues, but to be honest, I wanted to take a couple of days off to invest time with the family, with my nephews. They came from Switzerland, and yeah, relaxed days. Of course, I watched Barca's game because now my nephew is also playing football in Switzerland, and he wants to watch with me all Barca games. So yeah, it was funny, but yeah, relaxed days. What about you in England?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been a little bit under the weather the last couple of days, so I think this will be a fairly short pod, partly because there's two of us, partly because I'm scared that this equipment is not going to work and we're just going to waste this time recording and it doesn't get saved, but hopefully not. Fingers crossed people will be able to listen to this podcast. But yeah, not too bad other than that. I've been going to the theatre a bit. It's probably where I got this bug from, but yeah. Do you like Easter, Tony? Semana Santa? You didn't like Christmas that much, but what about Easter?
No. Not. I'm not big fan of these days. But in England, Easter is also very. It's also holidays for almost everybody, or it's different than in Spain?
Yes, it's holidays. It's holiday Easter Friday, and there's also Easter Sunday and Easter Monday that people have off. So normally people have a get together with their families over Easter. It's pretty common.
Yeah. And in England, it's also typical to make kind of these cakes of chocolate with kind of some toy monster, a toy football player at the top of the cake, or this is different tradition?
Yeah, it's not as common as in Spain, this kind of thing. What people do in England mainly is have Easter eggs, which are these, well, I mean, you have them in Spain. They've become more popular in Spain in the last few years. They weren't really when I moved there in 2014. Just big chocolate eggs with chocolate inside or buttons inside or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't deny that I've eaten a few of those.
Yeah, eating chocolate, no? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hey, who knows? Maybe inside of one of these chocolate eggs, we find the striker of the future of Barca. Who knows?
Let's hope so. Well, let's get into the game then. Barca earned an important win at the Metropolitano against a heavily rotated Atletico side. Obviously, they're fourth and are just thinking about the Champions League and the Copa del Rey. Hansi Flick put Dani Olmo as a false nine and he put Rashford on the left wing in place of the injured Rafinha. Lamine hit the post in the first half, but Atletico took the lead through Giuliano Simeone, getting in behind Barca's high line. However, Rashford equalised 3 minutes later after a 1-2 with Dani Olmo. And then Nico Gonzalez of Atletico was sent off for siding down Lamine just before half-time. Barca had Gerard Martin sent off at the start of the second half, but then that was cancelled after a VAR review. But even with the numerical advantage, they struggled to break down Simeone's side until eventually, with 3 minutes left on the clock, they got the goal to win it through Robert Lewandowski, who shouldered home from just a couple of yards out after Joao Cancelo's shot was saved. What did you make of Barca's performance, Tony? Good result, but how was the performance?
Well, of course, it was not the best game in the world. For me, it was a very strange game in terms of for Barca. Yeah, they could took that advantage after what happened with Madrid. But to be honest, when you start playing knowing that there's no need to win, the situation is different. So for me, I didn't see a game. It's true that there was a lot of tension, no, but in terms of it was not for me to live or die for, no, because also to live or die for, because also Atletico, they know that La Liga is not their bread and butter in terms of they mainly focus because they are out of the race for the title and they are already comfortable to make sure that they will play the next Champions League edition. So, but apart from this, well, I have read people praising the option of playing with a number 9, like a false number 9, like Dani Olmo. In my opinion, it's true that they made he made the assist of that goal of Rashford. We will later talk about Rashford, but for me it was not brilliant. I know that Atletico, they defend well, but in terms of clear chances, I don't think Barca was able to have big presence in the box because Olmo was most of the times out of the box. So for me, it makes sense to start trying this because as we see, the club wants to send to Ferran the message that he's in the market, and Lewandowski is likely to be the starter against Atletico. So it made sense that after the international games, you wanted to rest Lewandowski. So at the end, you had to go with Olmo or Ferran, and the message for Ferran is clear. So no, I'm not saying it was a bad decision, but well, not special. For me, not special performance, the one of Dani Olmo. I saw
Not
Atletico being
special.
able of creating some danger also, Rick. I don't know. I see that Barca still are not able to defend properly against Atletico de Madrid. Of course, the game was over when there was the red card of Nico Gonzalez, which I was happy for that because after being stupid and doing that handball, he was
Yeah.
sent off. It's true that at the end it was straight red card. It's true, but well. No, just to sum up, I will tell you, for me, I think the Champions League game is going to be very different because Atletico is going to be much more aggressive.
Yeah, they're going to come into it much more fired up. I mean, Hansi Flick said after the game, he thinks that both teams will be between 5 to 10% better, maybe even more, in my opinion. I think they're going to. It was a strange game, like you say. There was elements of kind of what I talked about with you before the game on the last pod about. Barca wanted to win because they want to. They need the points in La Liga, and Atletico don't. But Atletico didn't want to lose because they didn't really want to go into the Champions League games having low morale or having been beaten twice in a row then by Barca. So they put up a bit of a fight, but while playing reserves and basically they retreated into the sort of old Atletico, defending in the second half with 10 men. And they said after the game, the players were saying they were trying to keep their own morale high. They were saying, actually, we're going to take confidence from this, even though we lost, because when we had 11 men, we were better than Barca, is their point of view. I'm not sure it's mine. I think it was fairly even, but yeah.
No, not better than Barca, but yeah, very even. But also I have the feeling that some years ago, Atletico were much better than Barca defending, and they could protect their goal almost perfectly, with Godin and all these players, Juanfran. But nowadays, I feel that the only way for me, and it's funny, because Simeone is not in favor of this, but for me, the only way that Atletico can smash Barca is attacking, and it's not what Simeone likes to do. But for me, in my opinion, when you see Atletico defending, it's true that the other day they were with one player less. But I see that Atletico is not good enough to defend during 90 minutes against Barca. So the only way for me is attacking, because you have amazing people in the wings with Llorente, with Simeone. with Julian Alvarez, with Griezmann breaking from the second line, with Nahuel Molina, with Hancock can appear also when he plays on the left. So I want to see which is the plan of Simeone against Barcelona. But in my opinion, if he is not brave enough to go to attack, Barca will end up scoring a couple of goals and he won't score. So I'm very curious to see which can be the roadmap of Simeone this Wednesday.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been my opinion for a few years now. For maybe 2 or 3 seasons, I've thought the only way Atletico will win these games against not just Barca but also Real Madrid is if they attack and go brave and attack them. And Simeone has done that, not in the big games. He's done it in like games against smaller teams when Atletico feel like they should beat these small teams and they play attacking football and so on. But sometimes for the big games, Simeone kind of retreats into his sort of old ideas, which doesn't really fit the squad he's got anymore. So sometimes they just end up losing in these big games because they don't go brave enough and don't attack enough.
Yeah. It's also, there is another point, and for sure you can tell me that that's a silly point, but I love I love the numbers and maths and stats. For me, it's very complicated nowadays between Barca and Atletico to win three games in a row. No? So Barca smashed Atletico in the second leg of Copa del Rey, even if it was not enough. Barca also won this weekend. So in my head, it's very unlikely that you beat Atletico 3 times in a row. So I don't know. Of course, Barca is favorite. And of course, Atletico has also some important injuries. But no sé. Maybe I'm not going to say afraid, no? But if you tell me if I can imagine a draw after the first leg, for me, yes, I can perfectly imagine a draw between Barca and Atletico after the first leg.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I don't necessarily buy into that they can't do it 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row. It's the same in roulette, right? It's unlikely statistically that the red numbers come up 10 times in a row. But actually, it probably happens every single day somewhere in some roulette table.
See, and well, we saw what happened on the second leg of Copa del Rey. But apart from this, it's true that you are having some handicaps. First handicap, for me, in my opinion, is that, for example, even if he's in great shape, Cancelo goes to this game without having rested last games. The same of Cubarsí. Pedri has no a partner because Bernal is going to be out. Frankie de Jong not ready. So probably you will have to go with Eric. Yes, Eric is ready for this. But then who plays on the right back? Directly to the lineup, Jules Koundé, who is out of rhythm after being injured. You don't have Rafinha. Then who play as number 9? Who will you play? Because even if at the beginning of the pot we said that it was likely that Lewandowski would start, I think that when I said it was not brilliant performance, I wanted to say that it was not nothing special, but of course it was good performance of Olmo. So my question right now, what do you think is, do you see Olmo repeating as a number 9, Rick, against Atletico?
Good. I'm glad you brought this up because I didn't mention it earlier because I thought we could talk about the strikers a bit in general. Because I also thought Dani Olmo had a good game. But I know, I think the idea is to play Lewandowski at least in the home leg as the striker. I don't rule out Olmo playing as false 9 in the future, maybe possibly even in the second leg, depending on what happens in the first leg. I thought Olmo had a good performance. It was one of his better performances. I agree it wasn't special, but equally it's only maybe it's the first time he started as a false 9 for Barca. I know he's played there briefly in other games.
No, not the first time. He also played as number 9 against Betis last year in a cup game.
As a starter.
It was already.
Oh, all right, okay, yeah.
Yes,
I was thinking this season, but yeah. Okay, yeah. I was
this
thinking
season,
this
yes.
season.
This season, yes.
Yeah.
This season, yes.
I thought he had some really nice touches that obviously sets up the goal for Rashford, but also there's a sensational touch where he flicks the ball over the back of his head with his heel. I mean, maybe you could tell me there's a bit of luck there as well, but it looks like an amazing touch, and then he passes it to Ferran, who came on, and his shot was saved. But it was a sensational
Yeah,
piece of skill by Olmo.
no, a ver, it's obvious that in terms of associating, it's obvious that Olmo is much better than Lewandowski and than Ferran. But I also want to tell you that you win this on one side, but on the other side, Olmo is great appearing in the box, not being in the box. So you have to know that you will also lose lots of things with Olmo as a number 9. You can have great moves, great association, but at the end you need a finisher. So I would still go with Lewandowski instead of Dani Olmo, in my opinion, on Wednesday. Because, yeah, you win some things, but at the end, you scored that goal of Rashford, but it was not a party of chances, of created chances. So it was just having more control, but not being able to punish. And at the end, we know what Lewandowski is capable of. So for me, I would definitely still keep Lewandowski as a starter for Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with Lewandowski in on Wednesday as well in the first leg. But the annoying thing about this for me is that we should have seen Dani Olmo playing as a false 9 in January or in February, and we should have seen it 5 or 6 times by now to understand better whether he would improve in some areas or whether the team getting better association, better fluidity is worth the trade-off of what you lose when you don't have a proper striker in the box. I just think that Hansi Flick's been a bit slow and late to this idea.
Yeah, maybe he should have tried this before, but he was grateful with Ferran, with the amazing job he was doing, so he wanted to be patient. But yes, seeing the bad shape of both number 9s, at least him or Rashford. It's true that Rashford was also injured, if I don't remember it bad. Yeah, one of those players, one of these players, Olmo or Rashford, yeah, earlier should have
Yeah.
been played as a number 9 before. I totally agree with this. And now that we mentioned Rashford, I think it's another name of the game, because in the previous pod we also said, I think I discussed about this. No, it's like they have tried to underrate Rashford now that the time of paying the 30 million has arrived. Some people from the club have leaked that, well, he has to earn it, he needs to perform. But to be honest, more than 10 goals, more than 10 assists, and then he also performed the other day with the goal. So for me, Barca is losing all the reasons to explain him, hey, we are not going to sign you. So Barca are in a very difficult position. No? This is like when you maybe you are with a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you want to cut the relationship, and instead of saying, hey, I want to cut because I'm not happy, you start finding reasons. No, but you don't take care of me, you don't invite me to the dinner. But Rashford is this boy or this girl who is inviting you to the dinner, is treating you well, is taking care of you. So he's doing almost everything right, because at the end, he needs to perform in important games. First important game, important goal. So what do we expect more from Rashford? Because I feel that to pay 30 millions, we are asking him to be the new Lionel Messi. 30 millions. And he has already made great numbers. So as a club, if I was Rashford, I would go to the office, to the coach and to Deco, and I would say, guys, okay, November it was too early. I understand it. January it was too early. But we are already in April. I made my part of the job. Do you really trust me, or what you told me, it was a lie? And since the beginning, buying me was never part of your plans, because then you lied me. So if I was Rashford now, I wouldn't understand at all if Barca does not sign him permanent, to be honest.
Yeah, but the one thing I think they can ask for more from Rashford is his pressing and his work rate. Sometimes that just, he loses the ball and then he gives up and he doesn't try to win it back. And I do think that is quite an important part of what Flick is. Flick wants the players, especially those wide players, to be doing. And that is an issue for me. And the other point from Barca's perspective is I can understand the opportunity cost is if we spend the money on Rashford, then is that the one place you want to spend that money on?
Okay, perfect.
That unfortunately is the situation.
Rick, perfect. But then at the beginning of the season, don't lie him and tell him it's just a loan, 90%. Even if you score more than 10 goals, more than 10 assists, you won't be part of the squad. Just don't lie people. I don't like lying people.
Yeah, but don't you think that if Rashford, let's say he had got 1 less goal and 5 less assists, but his pressing was good and Flick relied on him in the second half of the season, I think then Barca would be way more inclined to sign him, even if his numbers were slightly worse, but his overall pressing was better.
No, because then we would be saying that to have guys that run with very good attitude, but they don't make numbers, why paying this when we have in La Masia, Jan Virgili, or others that they can also run with the heart? Then I think that we would try to find another reason, another excuse for not signing him. In my opinion, Rashford not as a starter, but as a backup option, and so for some games for sure as a starter. For me, Rashford did his part of the job, and the coach, if he is brave and has personality, should appreciate the work that Rashford is doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean these are big weeks, as Flick said. A big chance for Rashford, and he took it against Atletico, and we'll see if he continues to take that again against Atletico and again against Atletico in the next couple of weeks. All right, I'll quickly do the ratings, and then we'll just wrap up with a little bit looking ahead to the game at Camp Nou. More or less 6 out of 10 for most of the team in ratings. Cancelo 6.5, obviously cut in from the left nicely to create what proved the winning goal for Lewandowski. Pedri 6.5 as well.
You know what's the point, no? Rick, you know what's the point with Cancelo, eh? You know it, eh?
Yeah, it's coming. The mistake is coming.
Getting closer, yes.
He's doing the press conference tomorrow ahead of the game. Cancelo.
Okay,
maybe
Cancelo?
Yeah, Cancelo and Flick. I think maybe that hopefully that'll keep him sharp for at least the first leg, in front of the media, answering questions. He'll no doubt have questions about his concentration. So let's see if that has an impact. Fermin, Lamine were okay. 7. Lamine actually, there's another talking point. Sort of went off in a massive huff again. But anyway, Dani Olmo 7.5, Rashford 7.5, pretty good. Bernal 6 off the bench. And that's about it.
Yeah, I can tell you a small tidbit. You know that Lamine left the stadium very angry.
Yeah.
Okay. He was a little bit upset with one of his mates.
Oh yeah. Teammates.
So yeah,
one of the other players.
It was teammates. Yeah. One of his teammates. But well, things that can happen. When you are in the pitch, these things can happen. But I'm still a little bit surprised because I never saw Messi doing these things that early. But well, it's not like, okay, yeah, I can understand if someone of any of our listeners tell me that I cannot be comparing every time Messi with Lamine. Yeah, it's because and probably he would be right, because with what he was, Messi was an angel. And the most normal thing is that the players are what more or less Cristiano was and what Lamine is right now, in terms of some attitudes that maybe are not the best ones. The problem is that we were used to Messi and we still think that Messi was normal.
There are other players who don't have this kind of attitude, which I guess maybe we should appreciate that rather than unappreciating or not liking other players who are doing this like Lamine. I mean, it is. I mean, Sam doesn't think it's a thing at all. I think it's a small thing. It's not a big thing, but it is a thing. It is there, and it's like, I mean, look at Madrid and their season. I think a lot of Xabi Alonso getting Madrid going on a terrible run after the Clasico win, basically, and Xabi Alonso getting sacked. A lot of that comes from Vinicius' huge public blow-up when he got substituted, when they were winning the Clasico.
Yes. Well, Madrid is totally destroyed. Let's see what will happen against Bayern. But this, for me, is still 100%. I said that Arbeloa will no longer be Madrid coach after the summer, and I totally keep it because I think no way.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up then. Wednesday at Camp Nou. In terms of fitness, Bernal's supposed to be out for around 10 days. Frankie de Jong will still be out. How do you line up? Is it just with Jules Koundé in at right back and Eric into the midfield?
Good question. Good question, Rick. In my opinion, Jules Koundé on the right, Cancelo on the left. We have to remember that Balde is already fit, but I think he will be on the bench, so he's no longer guaranteed starter anymore, and even less without being in good shape after the injury. So Koundé in the right back, Cancelo in the left back, Kouarsi and Gerard Martin centre backs, Pedri Eric double pivot, Fermin number 10, Lamine on one side, Rashford on the other side, and in front, Olmo or Lewandowski. I have doubts. Probably I would still bet on Lewandowski if you ask me between Lewandowski and Olmo. But I wouldn't bet a single euro on Lewandowski being as a starter because I think it's still a debate on the head on Hansi Flick. So I think the lineup is going to be 99% this one. The bigger doubt is whether Olmo or Lewandowski will start, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's see. I think it'll be Lewandowski. I think it made sense to rest him after playing 180 minutes for Poland in the international break and then taking not a risk, but a chance with Olmo there ahead of the sort of the biggest game coming with the Champions League. All right, that is all for today. We will be back to discuss that Champions League game probably on Thursday. Until then, hopefully with Sam, stay positive.